We are into the first ban of the game.
Hooray!
Huzzah!
Malphite
Malphite being the
coming up.
first ban. Always a popular ban, especially when you do not know the other team that well. Shen, also another popular ban. And as we've discussed beforehand in the first game, Malphite's ultimate and Shen's ultimate are what make them the popular bans. Especially with them being such tanky characters that they can sit there and take the abuse after their ultimate, after their taunt. They can sit there and take the abuse. Then we
Yeah.
have Katarina, who's also become a very popular ban as of late, with her reworking actually giving her a lot more viability and a lot more popularity. Amumu, again, another ban from last game. And Blitzcrank.
very
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 pop-
common bands.
and then Alistar being the final ban for the red team, even
And,
though it does say purple. We like red.
and it looks like Diana being picked up as a first pick. Another very strong pick.
Yes, that was their mid. This was America and England's mid mid lane last time.
Hmm.
And however, we're gonna see a Graves and Leona for the red team, stealing that Leona from Vusha, who's their support player. Let's see what he does end up pulling out for himself.
Oh, let's see. The,
However, Udam is their top laner. Vusha is their support. Tasty Toasty T, what a tongue twister that is. Haha, many T's. Is their carry as of norm. Level 60 Mage is their jungler, and you have Honey Badger as their mid lane, I think it is.
yeah, and it looks like they're looking to pick up their bot lane right now with the support and the Ash pick hovering, lingering there, waiting to get click that confirm button. Oh, maybe not. Maybe a Vayne.
We see some hatred going on in the chat box about picking Leona. However, the bot lane is going to end up picking their own champions, a Taric and Vayne combination. If that Vayne can land that condemn into a wall with her positioning from her tumble, you can definitely see an easy double stun in the bot lane.
But the counter initiation from Leona and Graves in the bot lane actually is fairly strong against how squishy the Vayne is early game. It can be quite a problem for her if the Leona or Graves get any free shots onto her.
Now, red team's bottom lane is definitely going to have the easier time farming. Because if Leona runs in with their shield and it blows up and hits the majority of those 6 minions, the 3 melee and the 3 caster, all Graves has to do is dash in and buckshot. And
Hmm.
he'll just do massive amounts of damage because of Leona's passive on all of them, if not clear the wave and push it almost immediately.
We actually have a Trundle pickup for the jungle. I'm actually very excited to see this. I absolutely love Trundle. The slow from his pillar. He has great attacks damage buff with his Q ability, along with great peeling of armor with his ultimate, which does dot damage and heals him. I'm very
Oh yeah,
excited to see that.
he's a very rare pick, but I love seeing him every time he's picked, especially when he goes top or jungle. Since that is his majority of the lane, anything dies near him, he gets HP. So
Mm-hmm.
he gets sustained from the jungle every time he clears a camp. He gets his sustain from a lifesteal quince if he so took them, and his masteries. So he will have plenty of sustain going through the jungle with almost no issues.
And it looks like a Maokai picked up again for the blue team.
In fact, we're seeing a Kale going to the top lane against a Rumble, possibly.
I think, yeah,
Rumble.
I'm fairly sure that's the top matchup. Rumble versus Kale.
Actually, we're gonna see. Okay,
No, yeah.
with the switching of characters, trying to confuse the casters. Not too nice to do to us. Going through champions back and forth, but we are going to see a Kale versus Aurelia in the top lane with um, Diana going against Rumble in the mid lane. We have Maokai again, a repeat versus Trundle in the jungle. That's almost a rhyme. We have Vayne and Tarek going against the Graves and Leona bottom. So let us see the game we've never seen before in this matchup.
I wonder how Diana's gonna fare actually in mid lane against that Rumble, or maybe they're gonna send Irelia mid. You don't know. Huh.
That would definitely be a treat to see since I do not see that ever.
It'd be interesting actually to see the Irelia in the mid lane. That'd be pretty fun.
It would be, and it looks like we actually have both of the first picks being the top laners, and they were trying really hard to pick their lanes without being countered.
Yeah, and it looks like Diana's actually running exhaust right now.
She ran exhaust last game, and it paid off for that first blood in the jungle, in fact.
Yeah, it did. And as we get into this 3-minute delay, guys, I'm going to run a quick set of 3 ads. We will be right back. Thank you for watching.
Please support us by removing ad block.
That too. Okay, we have 90 seconds.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and bring Lynette in here.
Okay.
This guy called getting denied the boss lady. She's disengaging all she possibly can.
I just wouldn't be surprised if she didn't answer. It's okay though.
I know, right?
Yeah.
These fucking headsets. I'm so proud I haven't swore all throughout the broadcast.
That's good. You probably shouldn't do that. That'd be pretty bad.
But being, prior military and just having one of those kind of upbringings where a swear word pops out every 3 seconds. So.
That's not good. But we have 15 seconds, so we're back in, dude.
Alrighty. I think we did the matchups alright, since it's pretty much repeats.
And we are live.
Welcome back from those ads. I really hope you gave us the support. That ad block is a very evil thing. Don't you use it. But if you do, please just turn it off long enough for this stream and give us the support. It definitely helps us continue these tournaments to keep running them. And the more support we get, the bigger the prize pools can be and the more brackets we can actually hold. So the more support you can give us, the better these tournaments can always be.
And the more giveaways that can possibly happen during these tournaments, too.
That is correct.
RP for everybody!
Almost everybody.
Almost everybody. One person.
Yeah, power to the player.
Power to the player. Yeah, okay.
We have 30 seconds until we go into the game.
How are you feeling about the lane matchups, actually?
Again, I think the bottom lane is going to have the easier advantage, especially in the early game, with Leona and Graves being able to share that damage back and forth, especially with Leona's shield going in there to tank the small bit of damage that might come out from the harass and help with the wave clearing of Graves' buckshot. However, you have the lane with Tarek and Vayne, so you're definitely going to see some initiations going down, especially if their jungler comes down to gank. You have 2 different ganks, 2 different stuns coming in, rather than just one champion having the stun. If she gets stunned, there's no more CC on that red team.
And as we go into Border Wars and Skintimidation, we have once again the 1 diamond, 3 platinum, and 1 gold versus a silver, a no border, and 3 gold.
However, CGC Casual Gaming Center comes in with the Skintimidation with 2-to-1 skins. I am completely scared.
I'd be so afraid of that Rumble in the Jungle and Iron Solari Leona.
Iron Solari definitely being the most popular of the Leona skins, as I've noticed.
Yeah, it actually is. Personally,
Rumble skin looking like he's just completely relaxed, gonna win his lane with no issues.
No problem.
That happens for him.
He's just gonna shoot his little flamethrower and sit there and be all proud.
Oh, most indeed. Especially with his E. His harpoon of, it's free to cast. It comes off every 6 seconds. I'm just gonna go ahead and blast you with it once. Not just once, let's do it twice. And coming off the platforms for both teams, actually rather quickly. These guys are really good at this. You have boots and pots coming off for most of the majority of the blue team. Meanwhile, Tarek is picking up the fairy charm, 4 wards, and a potion. He's not going to have the same speed that we like to see on Tarek, especially to land those early stuns if he does take dazzle. Uh, and the red team, coming off with boots and potions as well. There's important taking the boots to help secure those earlier stuns, as I was mentioning, with a Zenith Blade. And Trundle going into the jungle with a Vamp Scepter. Definitely wanting to go after that sustain. And definitely looks like he's going to be practicing for the Season 3 jungle that comes out.
Mm-hmm. It actually looks like they're just all taking safe ways and grouping up as 5 right now, hoping to catch somebody out.
However, it looks like both teams are bubbling around their red buffs, respectively. Red team looking like they're just going to sit here waiting for an invasion that they are expecting. And blue team moving into the bottom's brush to go in for a possible invade. They are taking their time, waiting to hopefully see someone coming down this ramp and wanting to expect an 80 carry or a Leona to be there. So when they rush in here in about 10 seconds to be a surprise, they're going to find there's no one there to surprise.
Yeah, both of these invades actually just going. Actually, no, just yeah, both invades going down simultaneously.
Going down into the blue buffs. Both teams are going to end up being disappointed.
When they find nobody.
The blue team is in an advantage here. You have Kale, the top lane, recalling. You have Maokai taking away those wolves from their trundle. However, you have the red team coming in and doing the same thing to the blue buff, stealing this with 0 opposition. However, as I just now noticed, the blue team was actually smart enough to drop a ward on their blue buff to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm. And they're fairly aware of the trundle actually stealing that blue buff. The Maokai actually used Smite on the blue buff when he was receiving his Smiteless Leash. It looks like they're actually looking for an early gank middle. The Twisted Advance not coming out on the Rumble, unfortunately.
Trundle making a slight mistake leaving that 1 minion. I understand he wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible just in case there was a retaliation. But now he will not have that timer on the blue buff as Kale went in and cleaned up that single minion.
Mm-hmm. There actually was a flash use on bottom from Graves while he was stunned and getting harassed by the Bane. That early lane, it's very important for that Graves. They're going to be poked down pretty hard.
Yes, and in the matchup of Kale versus Aurelia, in the very early levels, Kale's definitely going to be able to have that ranged poke advantage on this Aurelia. And easily farmed. As you can see right now, if we are being shown the top lane, Kale is just able to beat down on that Aurelia, forcing her to use a health potion, showing early lane dominance and trying to deny the farm. Now, the Kale, who is Gudum, has had experience playing an Aurelia in his last game, so maybe he's already got a pattern of how an Aurelia plays in his head and already knows how to definitely keep them out of farming range. However, Aurelia's doing a really good job having a higher CS than this Kale by just 1.
And and she is continuing to just allow the lane to just push into her favor underneath the tower. Aurelia doesn't seem to have that many problems actually just last inning with tower aggro onto the creeps.
And Kale's just slowly pulling ahead in that farm, just constantly able to do this with her range. We have Trundle coming down to the mid lane trying to gank Diana, but it was just not good enough, especially with Diana coming in with an arc and pushing him further away. Then we have the small poke initiation between Diana and Rumble in the mid lane, but nothing much to come out of it. Then you have the poke going on between Gudum and Sacred's up top. Just Kale constantly keeping that poke and harass going at all times, trying to deny her as much farm as possible. And as you can see, Kale is finally starting to pull ahead and farm.
That Rumble's actually harassing that Diana very well with the flamethrower and landing very nice ease. Yeah, she actually Lunar pulls in the exhaust going down the ignite from Rumble, the flash from Maokai actually landing onto the Rumble, and first blood goes from the ignite ticks on the Diana. That Rumble played that very well.
Just perfectly timed, knew exactly when to pop the ignite and did it. That is very strong execution, and that will show to be hopefully a pattern with this Rumble. Definitely being their AP carry and the majority of all their ability in magic damage. since Aurelia does more true damage and physical, Graves will be popping out physical, Trundle will be popping out physical, and Leona, with the very small amount of magic damage she's actually going to be pulling because she's a support, and I don't see her building a lot of AP. So Rumble really needs the early farm, the early kills. He needs everything he possibly can do to build up all that extra ability power he's going to need to carry this team.
Yeah, and the Trundle actually stole the big golem from the blue side jungle while running through a ward, and the Maokai did know, but he just chose to take his red buff instead.
You have to pick your fights. Trundle can definitely beat a Maokai very, very early because of that sustain. However, Trundle got away with the big golem, which will definitely be a strong gold advantage, and also helps deny the Maokai all that extra experience and gold, forcing him to actually sit there and clear the golems. That way he can get the timer reset, because you never want to just leave your camp sitting there with a single minion ever.
And it looks like we have Graves and Leona fighting onto the Vayne. The Ignite comes down from Graves, but the exhaust going down onto Graves, and unfortunately that's just going to end up being a nice little trade in favor of Graves Leona.
Meanwhile, up in the top lane, we have the blue team.
Oh, we actually have an Ignite going down onto the Leona. The Leona flashed onto Vayne, landing an exhaust, and the Ignite not enough to kill the Leona. The Graves pick up the kill on the Vayne, and he's chasing down the Taric right now. The bush isn't warded, and it looks like the stun coming out from Taric as he tries to desperately kill this Leona, but she picks him up with an auto attack.
Definitely very well done by the red team. Leona knowing exactly when to disengage and to come back to help this Graves. However, Graves would have had almost no issue taking out that Taric since he was just so low of health and running the wrong way back into the brush. It would have been a strong and good maneuver if he ran to the brush, waited, and dipped back out, but instead he kept running up back towards the opposite way.
Oh, it actually looks like we have an engage going in on mid lane. The twisted advanced landing from the Maokai. The Rumble is actually landing great slows onto the Diana. The Trundle actually coming in to disengage with his Pillar of Filth. It looks like they're not going to be able to chase up any harder than that.
Very good save. Trundle has always been near this mid lane, as I can see going through here. He definitely knows that this is going to have to be a very interactive mid lane with him included. With, again, Rumble being the only strong magic damage they have on their team, he definitely needs to be there to keep Rumble up in the positive numbers. Whereas you see an 800 gold lead going on right now, with 3 kills up. That's not bad. That shows blue team is still farming quite heavily since there's only an 800 gold lead.
Yeah, for the red team. Looks like they're trying to go down towards the bot lane, but it is unfortunately warded, and the back pings are going out.
And you see the blue buff going to Diana, who can really use it, especially when she's going against this Rumble, who has no real mana issues. And you're going to be able to see Trundle able to secure his own blue buff for the cooldowns and the mana, because Trundle will burn through mana if you let him. With his bite, his Q, his Pillar of Filth, his speed buffs that he can give himself, he will go through mana very quickly. So having a character in the mid lane that is not mana dependent whatsoever is very helpful to him.
It looks like everybody's just focusing on some farm right now, as Kale is ahead in the Irelia lane, and Diana's actually still ahead of the Rumble.
However, Rumble has that kill over Diana.
Oh, we actually have Kale coming into the mid lane, popping the speed buff onto Diana, but nothing happens.
Which gives Aurelia that free time to farm that small wave that's still there. Knowing that her opponent is in a different lane, definitely let her come out and show a little bit of domination to push the lane. However, Kale is coming back up to make the presence known, and with that Holy Fervor, she is definitely going to be able to, her Righteous will definitely be able to clear that minion wave and keep it pushed and locked in the middle.
Yes, yes. Oh, man.
Going into matchups here, we have 2 Doran's Blades and a Boots onto Kale. Definitely wanting that sustain in the lane and dealing that extra bit of damage, as well as them both being very cost-effective items for what they do. Aurelia is going back now into the jungle to get some extra farm to try and catch back up. Meanwhile, her lane is being pushed. Only has a longsword and health crystal. I see her maybe picking up a heart of gold to try and mitigate the gold difference and the harassment. However, there is just different possibilities, especially with that long sword and that health crystal being there.
Mm-hmm. It probably looks like she's gonna swing more towards a phage, actually.
That is a very good possibility.
We actually have the stun going down onto the Graves in the bot lane. The Leona actually missing the dash, and Maokai going in onto the Graves, but the Graves landing the collateral damage and the buckshot onto Vayne, but the cleanse is not enough to get it away from the slow buff to Diana, actually coming in and countering the Vayne, picking up the double buff off Trundle, while Tarek took down the Graves, and it looks like Leona's going to follow shortly after, as Tarek picks up a double kill.
Very, very good. Vayne was just making sure they stayed alive by running back with the ultimate and then pushing, and then when needing to, just throws out the condemn, moves back and shoots, moves back and shoots. That is very good kiting by Vayne to make sure she stays alive. Now, Tarek getting those 2 kills can hurt the team, but it also helps a lot, especially since he does not have a GP10 item yet. It will definitely give.
Oh, looks like there's an Ignite going down in the top lane as Kale flashes in and dives onto the Irelia. Kale popping the ult to reduce any damage she was going to take from that Ignite or tower. Wow. But Rumble actually coming in to clean up, maybe, with Trundle. Looks like he lands the Ignite as she goes backwards towards the tier 2 tower, and it looks like Rumble will pick up this kill fairly easy.
That's right. Red team just came back knowing that, hey, our Aurelia is down. We need to get there as soon as possible to pick up this Kale to let her know that Kale is not allowed to run rampant all by herself. In fact, Kale, after that death, is now picking up a ward to see this and a BF sword. I really hope to see that turn into an Infinity Edge and Kale becoming a strong AD presence in this game.
Yeah, it actually looks like Trundle is trying to make an attempt onto the mid lane as Diana actually Lunar Crescents and ults out onto the Wraith camp.
Very creative. Not a lot of people will actually do this, and if they do, I have not seen it that often. You have Vayne just pushing back the enemy team, trying to keep that domination in the bottom lane since they know they do not have that early game advantage. Vayne, that is one of Vayne's main weaknesses, the early game. However, she is a very late game hyper carry. If they can continue to keep feeding her kills or letting her farm, she will definitely come back and be noticed. And to do such, to keep them pushed away and to help Kite and for the team fights, she's picked up a Phage. I really do not.
It actually looks like we have an engage going down on the bot lane. Leona actually solar flaring onto 3 targets underneath the enemy tower. She takes a hit from the tower and dies, unfortunately. Vayne picking up the kill with a double buff, picking up a double kill off the shatter from Tarek. Oh, that was a bad idea to dive. That Maokai had great positioning and countered it very well.
Red team had no vision of their jungle, so of the blue team's jungle. So they had
it actually
no
looks
idea.
like Vayne following up onto Graves. Oh, not diving the tower though.
Right. Back to the wards though. I really do not see that many wards on this map for either team, both having one, funnily enough, on top of each other by the dragon pit, sitting there looking like they're having teas and crumpets here.
Enjoying a nice time with the wards.
Most indeed. So, red team's ward is going to last there a little bit longer. And you have Tarek here with 4 wards. So I definitely have no doubt that Tarek will be running up there very shortly to be dropping a ward to give them coverage. In fact, you see him running into their tri-bush now. And their ward is down. However, he is quick to place another one, and it is at full. And it was a pink ward at that. So we have a ward kill at the dragon pit.
Woo! Ward kills.
Ward kills. Now, if he only would have noticed the one in his tri-brush, however, he does not have an oracle, so that he did not know.
Ah. And we have Vayne being pretty dominant in the lane right now. Just not afraid of anything. She's just sitting there.
Getting to see that the enemy team is willing to dive her, giving her 3 kills almost in a very short span of time has definitely boosted the confidence of this player. And to know what
it actually looks like Leona landing the solar flare onto the Vayne. She gets stunned. She condemns her back into the wall, kiting as best as she can. Actually turning around to fight. Gets exhausted by the Leona as well as the counter goes from Tarek. The Ignite going down onto Leona. It looks like Leona will be taken down by Vayne, but Vayne will be traded with Graves as Maokai comes in for the counter gank with the red buff onto the Graves. And it looks like he will be taken down here. As in the top lane we have Kale getting fought by the Trundle and the Irelia getting taken down by the Trundle with red buff. As Diana actually came down to the bot lane and killed Graves. I unfortunately missed that. And it looks like that's it.
Not only that, but with the red buff on Trundle and his Plague, you just see him dealing out so much extra damage that he does not have to sit there and physically do. Then you have the slows there, and Kale was just not going to be able to get away, even with her W healing and giving her a movement speed. So very good plays by the red team going in for the counter gank while their team was ganking in the bottom lane somewhat unsuccessfully.
Yeah, and it looks like the blue team is actually trying to steal the red team's blue buff, but actually Trundle get caught face checking it with no wards. Diana picking up a kill and a red buff to go with her blue. And it looks like they're still trying to take it, but they just don't have the damage. And it looks like Rumble's coming in with the Leona, and hopefully the Graves will meet up too. And it looks like Leona's actually engaging with the shield. The Maokai picks it up with a smite. The Rumble flashing in, getting the ignite on, killing the Taric. The Graves focusing on the Diana. It looks like she flashes the wall. The collateral damage actually just barely misses as Maokai gets away with his flash as well. Rumble is still chasing down onto her. And it looks like she's going to get away just fine. Oh, man.
That ward was very well placed in that bush, but they can just not keep up with her, especially with her Crescent and her ultimate giving her a dash away. She's proving to have that ability and capability of mind to say, hey, I need to get out of here. What's my quickest way possible? And he utilizes it. She has almost the range of a triple flash because of that. A regular flash that she did over the wall, her Crescent, and her ultimate. A very good way to disengage or to go into a fight. And we're going to have Rumble having no problem taking the mid tower, punishing that Diana for going and leaving her lane by trying to counter jungle.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's a very strong objective to actually take this early in the game. It provides the global gold and it allows him to roam more freely.
Blue team is definitely turning this game around. At the very beginning when we were starting to do this, it was an 0-3 game going into red team's favor, and it looked like it was going to stay that way, especially with the lane matchups. However, we see very competent players on both sides doing everything they possibly can. With a 9-7 score now, red team having a tower over them, and blue team pulling up over the gold lead just by a very little bit, not even noticeable, with Trundle coming into the kill initiation.
Yeah, looks like nothing's going to come out from that. Unfortunately, it's just going to keep her away, and she's going to pop a ward into the bush to keep herself safe. As Aurelia's continuing the aggression, landing a stun, actually doing a lot of damage with that 10 style, dashing out as Kale pops the ultimate to negate any damage, but it looks like they're actually going to take the dragon, as they notice Trundle was top lane, but Leona actually landing the ult onto Diana, but initiating in and getting taken down and condemned to the Vayne. But not Maokai, but Rumble getting taken down by the Vayne as well with a shatter from damage from Taric, and Graves killing the Diana with a red buff and auto attacks. It looks like they're taking down Taric as well. Trundle doing as much damage as he can. Vayne getting the triple kill. Will she get the quadra kill? Ooh,
I believe she will.
Does.
There is a quadra kill for Vayne. Very, very well done. They're going to try for this dragon, but we're going to see how well their sustain is.
They're going to be able to get it.
Definitely very good. Red team had the right idea coming in with the initiation and coming in from all sides. However, blue team was just able to push themselves and know exactly when and where to attack. And they're going to pick up that dragon with almost no opposition except for the small team fight there. And it is going to be a 13-10 game now with a 3k gold lead and a dragon.
Do you see her items? She has a Phage and a Zeal.
Yes, she's going to be building into a Trinity Force. So very soon we're actually going to see a Sheen being built, especially with the money she does have in her inventory right now. She's actually walking around with almost 2,600 gold. So she's definitely going to be back, and she has already went back and she has went ahead and bought, surprising us instead with a frozen mallet.
Oh my god.
So okay. We see a lot of sustain coming from her with a Vamp Scepter and 2 Torrens Blades. We're definitely looking at a very strong Vayne, confident in what she can do and not following the meta and build in any which way.
Okay, I like that. I like that Frozen Mallet. That's going to be very good for her kiting against this team as well. As much initiation as Trundle and Irelia have with their dash and the pillar, it looks like she will still be able to kite them fairly well.
Not only does she have the Frozen Mallet, but also has the red buff. You're seeing a double slow for at least 60% of their movement speed.
Actually, they don't stack.
Well, they do not. I always thought they did. I can be wrong.
No, it's all good.
Well, it's a good thing I'm learning it. However, with a Vayne able to do that, she's able to just successfully run away and shoot. And if they continue to pursue, that's going to be 3 stacks.
Oh, it looks like Vayne is actually ulting while Leona actually landing the stun onto the Vayne, the Condemn landing into the wall, while Vayne is positioning herself very well with the red buff. It looks like there's actually an engage going down on top lane too. Vayne is not fighting anymore, but the top lane fight is still going on.
Maokai was making that save for the Kale.
And the ultimate coming out from the Trundle onto the Maokai in the ultimate, but Diana actually coming in, dashing, picking up the kill onto the Trundle, landing the Lunar Pull and the ultimate, and picking up a double kill on the Irelia.
Oh, that was extremely well done. They saw that.
It looks like there's actually dive going down in the bot lane. The Rumble out landing onto the Taric and the Vayne. The Vayne looking to kite as well as she can, but taking down Leona at least. And Rumble's fighting, but she's still diving on the tower, picking up the double kill with the red buff. Oh, will she fight the Graves? No, she will not. It looks like she's going to go 2 for 1 in that exchange on a dive. But she's still poking the Ignite coming down from the Graves, and the Graves will flash and pick up the kill and the red buff, shutting down the Vayne.
If I was that Vayne, I would have been happy with my double kill and I would have left. However, this Vayne has had a lot of confidence pumped into her, so I understand why she did what she did. And we see Vayne picking up a BF sword, going with that Vamp Scepter they already have. I see a Bloodthirster coming in very soon as the 1500 gold comes into play.
Yes, and it looks like the blue team is actually stealing the red team's red buff, securing the jungle a little bit more.
Definitely. If you can keep Trundle out of the jungle, he's going to be painstakingly hurt with having to go into lanes for experience, and he's going to have to fight his teammates for gold, and that just hurts their team overall, as well as it gives you the inside vision of their team in their jungle, especially when Maokai, their jungler, is running around with an oracles, placing his saplings in...
It actually looks like we're going to have an initiation mid with the Taric initiating with the stun and the Twisted Advance coming out from the Maokai, and the Diana looking to pick up the kill. No, Kale actually takes the kill, and they're going to actually catch up with the Trundle. The exhaust coming out from the Taric, the ultimate from Trundle coming out, while Kale landing the slow and picking up the double kill. Oh man, and they're still looking to pick up this tower in the mid lane.
Yeah, very, very good. We had, a mid fight that looked like nobody was there. We had them defending their tower the best they can, and then all of a sudden, suddenly, blue team comes out of nowhere, picks up the kill. Trundle doing what he could in that fight to try and defend the tower, but was just not fast enough, especially with that exhaust going down on him. And Kale's Q for the slow, it was just so much damage in a short amount of time that he was not able to do anything about it. While blue team's going to go in and continue to secure their jungle with a blue buff. So we're going to see another team fight, possibly mid, since we see the careful signal going down in mid lane to warn Kale that, hey, they're there, you need to back off.
Yeah, it actually looks like Graves dashed through the wall by the wolves, by the blue buff, to get away from the Diana and the Taric, who are looking to actually kill him. But it looks like they're actually getting engaged on by, and the Taric and Diana actually fighting, but the solar flare hitting onto the Diana. She's trying to flash and dash out, but she gets picked up by the Graves, the slows coming out from Rumble, but missing the Trundle, landing his speed buff, but getting it, and the Irelia flashing through the wall, landing the slow, getting the ignite. Oh, Taric actually stopped walking for a second. The ult from Trundle coming out. The dash from Graves and the collateral damage for the kill. Wow.
Blue team was nowhere near there. There was nothing they could do for that fight to help their teammates. Their Diana and Taric were just out of position with the rest of the team, and it caused them to die. So they will hopefully learn from this and start sticking together as a group, as they've shown in their last game and this game so far with their cohesion.
And it looks like there's actually a root coming out and going onto the Trundle, while the Diana dives in and sacrifices herself for the team, and Kale picks up the kill.
Gudum's Kale is getting a lot of feed lately, especially turning her earlier items into an Ionic Spark. She still has the BS Sword and the Vamp Scepter. And rather than IE, I would now like her to pick up a Bloodthirster along with this Vayne.
It actually looks like she's catching out the Irelia right now with that red buff slowing her. But she's going to disengage because the other team would have actually followed up quite well on that fight.
But Kale with an Ionic Spark and her E is just so much damage in a
there's actually a flash over the wall for the Maokai to stop the back, I guess. Oh, that was really risky. Oh, that was really risky.
Risky indeed, but Maokai is just building so tanky with the Negatron and the Aegis and the Merc Treads. He is sitting there willing to mitigate all that damage from the Rumble, who's their only magic damage bringing to the field so far.
Yeah, proven to be quite hard for them to get any damage on. He's not doing too well with item-wise, just the Haunting Guys and a Revolver. Building quite tanky right now with a Giant's Belt and a Chain Vest.
Now Graves, on his back, just picked up the Bloodthirster, a Phantom Dancer, and a Pick. So we're going to see him dealing a lot more damage now in a very shorter span of time, especially with him critting a lot.
If you actually look at the scores, Maokai is 0-0 and 16.
Maokai is the unkillable in this game, just like Jack.
It actually looks like we're gonna have a fight in the mid lane right now. The stun coming out from Tarek onto the Irelia. The Irelia following up with the ultimate lunar pull, landing onto the Irelia, but Diana actually picking up a kill onto the Graves. We have Kale sitting in the back, landing a lot of Ionic Spark procs and picking up a kill on Trundle while Maokai actually killed the Diana, but Vayne coming in for the cleanup, and it looks like there's an ace there, and they look like they're pinging to push down the mid towers.
Kale is just a really strong force, especially with, as I was mentioning, her Ionic Spark and her E. She is able to just land so much damage. Doesn't matter who she really targets. They are going to feel the pain and the burn, and not only the burn of her Fury, but of the shocking abilities of that Ionic Spark. The play on words by this caster are very bad, but I try. As you see the blue team pushing into the inhibitor.
The root coming out from Maokai, and it looks like he's gonna try and disengage the Trundle Pillar of Filth. Doing a great job of doing that.
Blue team taking their inhibitor and running off. However, Vayne decides that she has a little bit more courage than needed and goes back into a tumble towards the Aurelia and realizes it's a bad idea as their team disengages, and she walks away and steals these wraiths to try and, again, counter jungle, taking only the big wraith and going after the red buff. Counter jungling for the blue team seems to be one of their strong suits as they take the red buff into
looks like Rumble and Leona are actually going in there. They ward it. Looks like they're going to try and follow up the Rumble, popping his speed and the dash from Irelia onto the creep. Are they going to find him? Diana actually fighting in on the Graves. It looks like she's going to dash in and kill him with the ultimate.
So much burst by Deanna. It was, you would never even suspect it with the build of, yes, she does a lot of burst damage, but that much to make a Graves go, never mind, let's get out of here.
Vayne actually ulting in onto the Irelia with her Frozen Mallet and red buff, both slowing so well. It looks like she's going to actually be able to pick up the kill onto the Irelia. The stun coming out from Tarek and still hitting, and she did a great job of chasing that. Oh, yeah, Diana actually pulling in the Rumble, but the disengage from Leona with the ultimate, the Trundle coming out, the Pillar of Filth doing nothing to stop her.
Meanwhile, Rumble's ultimate, the Equalizer, is just a long line of a slow. As we see Maokai clearing out the Baron area with his oracles. Definitely a good idea. He sees this pink buff, pink ward now, and he sees this other ward, and we're going to see blue buff trying to force a Baron fight.
Yeah, it looks like they might be able to pick this up fairly easily.
Especially with the red team being forced to sit back and defend their base. There's no way they can give opposition to this Baron. Even though they had wards there, they lost the vision. They have no timer of when it actually comes back unless they can go into the area and check it. So, very good by blue team. Again, moving as their unit cohesion is just very strong. They are moving as a very strong group, and you see them going together, doing everything they can, sharing the buffs and putting them on the correct people. I do not see many things wrong with their team fights. They move as a solid group, and you see them focus. There's not a gaggle in their fights. They constantly go after one person. They take that person. Meanwhile, you have their carries in the back, dishing out all the damage they can and being very effective at it, while the red team is struggling to do the same thing.
The Kale's actually there to meet the Graves, and it looks like she's doing a ton of damage and critting on him with that IE and Ionic Spark. Oh just my god.
So much damage is able to be done by Kale, especially with a red buff already on her.
It looks like Trundle's actually trying to fight him too.
But it gets pushed away by the burst damage that Kale is able to do, especially with her items.
Yeah, and Vayne is actually pushing in that mid lane right now against the Rumble and doing quite a bit of damage to him as well. It looks like Tarek's just dropping a bunch of wards in front of the base.
I don't know if he's trolling or just wants that vision. I would take my guess that he really wants that vision on that turret, though. However, looking at Kale just a little bit more, 277 AD is an insane amount on almost any character. We see blue team getting a turret and the inhibitor in the bottom lane with no contest from the red team. And we see them pushing and pushing. And we see them going top lane to do the exact same thing they did in the bottom lane, with pushing and poking at the red team, pushing them back and keeping them at bay. That way they can get this turret with no contestation yet again. And we see the top turret falling to Vayne. And we're going to have another inhibitor for all three inhibitors going down. We're going to see a lot of pushing from the blue team, especially with their Baron buff here.
Yeah. And then Alex Sparrow, Leona actually going in and getting taken down by the Kale. It looks like Vayne's going to be able to have free reign here and not get taken down at all. Diana killing the Trundle right now. The Vayne actually following to the base, the flash used from Rumble to survive. And it looks like this is going to be GG.
Oh, I agree. The strong burst damage and AD that you're getting from the two carries, top lane Kale, Vayne in the bottom, doing her thing as a hyper carry, dishing out all the damage there is.
And the fountain dies from Tarek. Alright, what a
and
good
GG
game.
goes to American and England Yowie over Casual Gaming Center. A very good game. I was impressed with ending scores of 11 turrets to 2, 57.5k gold versus 38 and 4, and 30 kills in 16. It was a definite and strong victory for the blue team.
Yeah, red team was trying very hard, but it just wasn't enough to stop that frozen mallet Vayne. I was surprised to see that.
We had the red team with that early game advantage and was showing it and using it. However, the few mistakes in those tower dives really got Vayne started. And once you start Vayne, you don't stop.
No, she was having free reign with that Kale as well. Oh man, that was quite good.
Aurelia is actually a very strong counter to Kale. Kale's main defensive ability is the fact that she can use that ultimate to make herself invulnerable or a teammate for just a few seconds.